Joining us this afternoon is Undersecretary Laura Del Rosario, the chair of the Senior Officials Meeting. Undersecretary Del Rosario will have a few words for everyone.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the media. I really don't know where to start and what coverage I should be doing because I know that I've already briefed many of you previously, I think just a couple of days ago. So I think this, if I may paraphrase a song, this is the moment, right, that we've all been waiting for. And I think how many more days we have to go? It's now the 12th, and soon exactly on the 7th day, everything will be over, and we hope that we can call our hosting a success in many ways. But for us in the substantive group, we are always looking at the deliverables. We're looking at the policy recommendations that we would like to be carrying forward, doing next year so that our economy and the other economies will somehow open up to more improvements and to more, as we call it, activities, economic activities. To start with, I think I've already given you a background that when APEC was held at the summit level. I mean, if you recall, I think I mentioned to some of you that APEC used to be a ministerial meeting until the United States decided to make it into a summit level meeting, which means the head of the economies or the presidents, I mean, in the political term, they are the presidents, but in the economic level, we call them the economic leaders. At that time, APEC was seen to be more of an trade investment, liberalization, and facilitation forum. So this focus on trade and investment, liberalization, and facilitation was the theme or the main goal that we've been trying to do all these many years. And little by little, of course, we assume that we have made progress in this in terms, of course, of tariff reduction, in terms of ease of doing business, getting rid of certain regulatory restrictions or rigidities so that at least our economies could somehow be more friendly to the business people. I cannot help but really emphasize that business is really the lifeblood for us, and entrepreneurship is something very important for us because it's the business people who provide jobs and employment for people, of course, and for the government, they're the ones that provide the taxes, which we use, of course, to do our services for the people. Now, people have always asked whether APEC is also doing something that will benefit the ordinary person, and of course, for me, it goes without saying that if there's a lot of business activity going on, definitely the average person will benefit in terms of employment creation. But I think this year it has become very more obvious, and you can see it in our statements, in our deliverables that we will be releasing within the next few days, that we have also covered the development agenda, so to speak. When we talk of development agenda, we talk about areas of activities that will affect the well-being of the person. So we have a very big project on health under the Healthy Asia Pacific 2020. We also have something, of course, something that's close to our interests and to our own concerns. We're talking about the disaster management, disaster risk reduction and management. We have something on women, gender, persons with disabilities. We have also something on water urbanization. We have projects on converting waste to wealth, like plastic waste, how we can convert them into something more useful. We call it Waste to Wealth project. And we're doing this in relation with cities, We have chosen, for instance, the cities of Dagupan and the cities of Dagupan and Angeles, and they're working with the plastics industry so that they will have the technology and the know-how to, convert these what we call useless stuff. They will become useful stuff. They will be converted into something that can be sold or something to create livelihood from. So the development agenda is there, and of course, because of this, we have gone into what we call the APEC quality growth strategy, which will really focus on three key accountability areas. And these are, first of all, institution building through governance. I keep on repeating this in many of my briefings. I believe that an economy or even a government is only as strong as its institutions, and its institutions are only as strong as its human resources, and its human resources are only as strong as the quality of their education and the quality of their governance, their integrity. And related to this, of course, is the key accountability area of social equality, equity, so that each one will have the same access, the same opportunity. And we are looking, of course, at education once more as one way of giving everyone an even playing field. And the third key accountability area is environmental impact of economic activities. Everybody now thinks that when you do something, when you create a product, you create a process, you create a procedure, it should not really destroy the environment, and rather it should rather contribute to the betterment of the environment. And if ever you that's why most of the activities now are what we call green technology, and we're talking about green and sustainable growth. And in this area, we have deliverables on food security and the blue economy, which is really related to the marine resources of the Pacific region. To me, one of the more exciting things that we're discussing is the area of services. For many of us, we think that services is something that we see in terms of only of our tourism and hospitality industry, but it's there embedded somewhere in manufacturing as well. Our logistics, brokerage, warehousing, these are services related to manufacturing. In agriculture, we have cold storage, these are services, packaging also. And then we have design, creative designs. Even what you're doing right now is a service. You are in the media service, and people are in the entertainment service. Others are in the events organizing. That's a service. So all of this, we hope that the time will come when we'll be able to have more open economies that will allow services to be moving across borders. And the economic leaders will be meeting on the last day for their retreat. And we're happy to say that we have a very good attendance. Everyone whom we expect to be here is here. And in addition to that, the APEC leaders will have an informal conversation with the Pacific Alliance. And since the Pacific Alliance has 4 members, 3 of which are members already of APEC, but one is still missing, that's Colombia, so the President invited the President of Colombia to be part of the dialogue. During this week also, we'll have 2 state visits, the state visits of the President of Chile and Mexico. As a whole, I think we are looking forward to a very good substantive discussion on both sides of the Pacific, if I call it that, because we're talking about the Pacific Alliance. But on the business side, that's why we also think that this is something that we're very happy about, is that the CEO Summit also has its own many speakers that will talk about innovation and innovation creation and the new ways of doing business. And I cannot, of course, leave or close this briefing without mentioning the big role of our own finance minister's process, which I call the second stream which is not second, not in terms of importance, but because we have two streams here, the stream of the senior officials. We talk about almost everything that makes an economy. And since the economy, as I see it, has many moving parts, more often than not, it needs the financial aspect. So we have the finance minister's process. And they have done a lot with their Cebu Action Plan, which has really set a roadmap for the future for financial inclusion. Today, they're meeting on how they can best service the small, micro, and medium enterprises. And of course, the MISMEs, as we call them, the micro, small, medium enterprises, are the centerpiece of the Boracay Action Plan. So with this, the four major things that we're talking about, trade, investment, finance, growth strategy, and services, and the development agenda, I hope that our host here will really be what I call a very holistic approach to development. And so I think we have covered our theme of inclusiveness. So thank you very much, and I'm now open to receiving your questions. Thank you. Yeah, Doon.
Okay, thank you, Yusek Lula. The floor is now open for your questions. We would like to again remind everyone to kindly raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged before approaching the mic. May we please have the first question? Yes, ma'am, first, and then sir at the back.
Hello, I'm Isabella Montana from CNN Philippines. I would just like to ask you if you could expound on, you said we're talking here about four major things. If you could re-mention them again, and if you could expound a little bit.
Well, actually there are more than four, but I thought that this four, make it five, okay? I mean, you have heard of you have covered the finance ministerial meeting, so that's the Cebu Action Plan that will cover financial inclusion. And then of course you have covered the Boracay Action Agenda, which was also held in Boracay. I mean, the names themselves show where these documents and these statements were concluded. Now, I mentioned disaster, right? This one was done in Iloilo. We also have the disaster risk framework that people will be using for future work on disaster risk management. And this is because of our own concern about sustainability and resilient communities. And the other two, I mentioned the quality growth strategy framework and the services, the APEC services cooperation framework. So those are five. But all in all, actually, we have 12 deliverables, but right now I'm focusing on those five. But you may want to know about what the others are. These are education and innovation, and then we have women and development. We have food security and the blue economy. We have, did I say women and development, women and business? Wow. I'm missing some more, two more, I think. Anyway, later on, they'll come back to me. But at least you can mention there that education is there. Education and innovation is there. Oh yeah, building what we call the human resources, human capital development, training the workforce for the 21st century. That's also something that we are really working on, because I think I've mentioned already in the past that because of the growth of technology and expansion of technology, many of the things that people learn these days are becoming obsolete. So we are trying to address the possibility that in the future jobs will be more technology and technical oriented, and therefore we're trying to scale up our own education so that the people that we train don't come out of their training with obsolete skills, because things change so fast. So we're looking also at what are the obsolete jobs now, and then what can be done, to prepare our own people to make sure that when they come out of college or technical vocational training, that their skills are not, they don't belong to the 20th century, but rather they can really keep up with the changes in the 21st century.
Okay.
Okay?
Sir. Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Raul Dancel, The Straits Times. We are receiving word from Jakarta that President Joko Widodo may not likely attend next week's summit.
Yes.
From a policy standpoint, how will Indonesia's absence affect the meetings? Yeah.
Yes, we're very lucky that, of course, his Minister of Trade will be there here.
So it's confirmed po, ma'am, that he's not
Yes,
attending?
I just got now a message, a verbal message from his senior official that there are things in Jakarta that needs some of his attention. And also it's because he's coming from the G20 meeting in Turkey, and then he also has to attend the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur. So somehow, I think he decided to get that period in between to go home and to address some domestic concerns. I asked the same question because I know that President Widodo is really very, very excited about economic issues. I think he came into power saying that his government will really focus on economic growth. But I also learned that when he was in the US, he had to cut his visit short by 1 day because of the problem of the haze, the burning of some areas in Jakarta, which really has really impacted the cities. I think even us in the Philippines, right? The haze really has really crossed borders. Okay, so I think that's the one that he's trying to look into. Yeah.
The second half of my question, ma'am, how will his absence, affect the meetings?
Of course, they won't really affect per se because whatever position that Indonesia has about some of these issues will be iterated and reiterated by his own foreign minister and his trade minister. And I think we all know his Minister of Trade, Minister Lembong, who's really, very open. He's very liberal in his views, and he's really very much APEC-like in the way he thinks. And since we'll be negotiating the leader's statement, his people will make sure that the views of the president will be there in the leader's statement. Of course, we will miss him in the sense that he will not be able to deliver his interventions himself, during the retreat. But I think the Indonesian delegation will make sure that their national positions will be reflected in all the outcome documents that will come out of the senior officials and the ministerial meetings, and of course, from the leader's statement. Thank you.
Thank you, po.
Can we have the next question, please? Yes.
Hello, I'm Asumire Kotomita from the Daily Manila Shimbun. So now the Philippines are having the problem of laglag bala, tanying bala, and if the 7,000 delegates getting travel of laglag bala, it can be a diplomatic issue. What's your point of view, and is there any plan to prevent the delegates getting travel of laglag bala?
I think that's over extrapolating the problem. Because if you go to the airport, you notice that there's an APEC lane, right? That's where the APEC people go, even as ordinary, even if there is no APEC meeting, those of us who are doing APEC work, you can see the ABTC, the APEC Business Travel Card. And during this meeting, everybody's an APEC delegate. They'll go through the APEC meetings, and of course, they'll go through these lanes. And we have our own people who will handle them. And definitely, I'm sure that the airport authorities have already addressed that problem. And so I think that issue is already moot and academic.
Can we have the next question, please? Yes, sir.
Hello, Yusek. Ivan Mayrina, GMA7. Is climate change also a potential point of discussion during the meetings? You mentioned environment.
climate change is always there because it's one of our, we have four priority issues. If I may review them, one, of course, is human capital development. Second is assisting in small and medium enterprises and micro enterprises to enter into the global market. And then the third is sustainable and resilient communities, which is really about helping our own communities address climate change. Climate change is the underlying, what we call, changing, game changer in the way we do our things now. Many of our discussions, in fact, have climate change as a context. So when we talk about connectivity issues, meaning connectivity of economies in terms of physical infrastructure, we're thinking of climate change. So we're talking about quality infrastructure. We are discussing guidelines and standards on quality infrastructure. Even the finance minister's process has also climate change embedded in it because they're talking about financing for financing SMEs, for business continuity or disaster risk insurance. We're talking about that. And then we're also talking about the global supply chain security. When you do business and you do connect parts, so to speak, to make a whole, and your supply chain is located in various parts of a country or various parts of a region, we're studying on how we can improve the resilience of the supply chain. So the transportation people, ministers are looking into climate change. The energy ministerial meetings are looking into climate change or have considered climate change when they discuss renewable energy. Even without mentioning the words climate change, everything that we have done really has considered climate change, as I said, a game. I don't want to call it a threat, that's why I call it a game changer, because it changes the way we do the things that we do now. Of course, it's not a game, it's really it's a serious event, of course, but we are really preparing ourselves and our people and our businesses from finance to physical infrastructure to withstand whatever climate change will bring about.
Can we have the next question, please? Next question. Okay, if there are no more questions from
thank
the
you.
floor. Oh, okay, we
All
have
right.
one last. Thank you.
Sorry, me again. If there's no one else who wants to ask, we did hear earlier from Ambassador Painor that there isn't a scheduled bilateral meeting between China and the Philippines. Can you confirm that?
No,
No?
I don't know where he got that.
Because he said that just because of the Troika, they will be sat next to one another. So he says hopefully they will have a lot of opportunities to
Oh yeah,
discuss
they will have
issues.
they will have a lot of opportunities to discuss. I mean, definitely they will. The Troika, they'll always be seated beside each other. But I mean, I'm looking at it from that point of view of the physical encounter, so to speak.
Okay,
Yeah.
but will there be like an official?
I'm not
bilateral
aware
talk
of,
meeting?
I'm not into the scheduling of the bilaterals of the president, so I cannot say anything about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
last question, probably, from the floor. Okay.
I think I have overbriefed you already, right? I've conducted so many briefings. I think the FOCAP, I briefed you, I think, 5 days ago.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we would like to thank Undersecretary
Okay.
Del Rosario for
Thank
taking
you
the time
very
to speak
much.
with us.
Thank you.
And everyone for their participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was sweet and short. It's the shortest one.